in order to get people to, in order to sell somebody something, for lack of a better term at the moment, you have 4 things you could do to get somebody to take some kind of action, okay? You will motivate someone in this country to do something, and that's how you get what we have this election season, 70 million each, so 150 million. That's not half, but pretty close to half. And you figure we have 340 million people, 30 million are kids, figure 300 million, maybe half of eligible voters voted this year. That's a lot. I'm probably overstating it. It's probably like 30-something%, but usually it's 20%. And then if it's not a general election, highly publicized on the internet, like this past one, or a midterm election, or just a local election, it's probably closer to the turnout. I talked to a mayor who said, my turnout's 9% in this city. Fear, greed, anger, fear, greed, anger, guilt. So I'm going to get into a brief analysis of how you motivate Americans to do things. Fear, greed, anger, guilt. Start with guilt. You have, keep in mind, I was a Nielsen researcher for over 4.5 years. I know something about psychographics and demographics. Demographics are one thing. Male, mid-30s, this is the spending habits, this is the general location, blah, 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 blah. But psychographics will tell you a lot about groups of people. Psychographics will tell you, like, what are their behavior patterns, what kind of media do they consume, what do they tend to think about politically, everything about a person. It's like a psychological profile put into a chart. You can guilt people by psychographic group. This past election season, you see a lot of people who are guilty about their lives, or they're married to someone and they feel guilty about how they have accumulated wealth or success, if you want to call it that. And it's easy to guilt people into voting a certain way. It's easy to attack someone and say, look at you and look at me, you should feel guilty. You can get someone to come out and vote if they watch somebody on TV, or somebody makes them feel bad, or a celebrity says some kind of endorsement. Guilt is pretty powerful. Sometimes in the business world, you'll have someone who's worth $1 gazillion doing some kind of weaselly business, and out of guilt, they'll say, you know what, if I donate $100 million, I can say I donated $100 million and I feel less bad. I feel like I'm trying to help the world. If that rings a bell. People do it on both sides of the political arena. It doesn't matter to me. I'm trying to make a point. A lot of people will take an action in an election based on guilt. Fear. Sometimes people are afraid. You want to get somebody to vote. There was a whole documentary on this years ago about the Republican National Committee in the 80s and George H.W. Bush, and Reagan's chief of staff is in the, and campaign manager Ed Rollins, who's a university professor in New York, has a little bio, has a little cameo in it. You can scare people into taking an action. So what's a good example of fear? Telling someone that their income might go down, or they could lose their job, or telling someone they might, their business might have increased payroll tax, or telling someone that a foreign country might blow them up, or not blow them up, or there might be a war, or some terrible thing. There might be a foreign country who has nuclear weapons. Makes people anxious. People have a tendency then to listen and say, oh, I better go vote. I better do something about this, okay? Guilt, fear, anger. Anger is what you've been seeing for the last year, and it started with the 99% in 2011. Anger is a tough one. Anger is like when you watch sports movies. I talk a lot about movies. It explains human behavior pretty well, because the people who write the movies, they research this stuff. In sports, you'll notice sometimes, like I know Super Bowl is coming up either this weekend or next weekend. When guys get in a huddle to play a sport, you'll have people say things like, oh, home field advantage. Come on, get hyped for this one. Don't let these guys run out the clock on us. Or they're not going to come into our home stadium and make fools out of us. We're going to stop them. And they might slap each other in the helmet, like in the movie Any Given Sunday comes to mind. Like they get all hyped up. Or the program, if you remember the program with James Caan in 1997, those guys were like hyped out before a match, before a game. You get somebody angry, they might protest, or they might have a sit-in, or they might be starving, but they're just going to go like sometimes you watch prison documentaries. A lot of guys will do like a hunger strike because they're angry, because they feel like they're getting no respect or taken advantage of. Anger can last because sometimes people in sports, they call it playing on pride. You know you're going to lose, you might be outgunned, you know it's not going to go anywhere, but you're so angry that you have a lot of heart, they call that. So the final one is greed. Greed is the least popular, probably, because more people will admit that they get angry at something or they're afraid of something. Greed is like a tricky word. Sometimes people are greedy. Sometimes people have a nice setup in what their arrangement is in life. Their lot in life, their socioeconomic status, what they own, what they have, what their family has, whatever. It could be anything. It could be they like where they live. Sometimes people have a greed, and that, believe it or not, funds a lot of special interest groups, a lot of political action committees, a lot of people who just have an affinity for something or some belief, or maybe they practice a religion and they want more people to think like them. It's an ideology, and they say, hey, I'm greedy for more. I want to grow my congregation or my following or my contingency or my ideology. Or I have a business, or I'm popular, I have a talk show, and I want to get more. I need more subscribers. I want more bonuses. I want to sell more advertising, or whatever it is. I want more distribution for my newsletter because I speak the gospel. Whatever it is, I'm greedy for it. Greed can make people stop what they're doing in a hurry and take action.